You are about to learn what happiness really means. Not the kind that fades when life gets hard, but the kind that's built in the dark, where truth and healing live. This isn't surface-level work. It's shadow work, the path to unshakable happiness. What you'll hear may challenge you, but it will also free you. Once you face the parts of yourself you've avoided, you'll start to feel lighter, clearer, and more whole than ever before. Before we begin, share in the comments where you're listening from, and one thing you're hoping to heal or understand about yourself. It's powerful to see people from around the world uncovering happiness from the inside out. You can simply listen and let the words move through you, or read along with the on-screen text for a deeper, more focused experience. Let's begin. We are handed a script for happiness before we can even read. This script tells a compelling story. Achieve, acquire, and ascend, and you will be rewarded with a permanent state of contentment. We follow these instructions with dedication, collecting diplomas, partners, promotions, and possessions, waiting for the moment when our inner world will finally align with our outer accomplishments. Yet for so many, that moment never truly comes. A quiet dissonance remains. This is because the fundamental premise is flawed. Happiness is not a finish line you cross. It is the very ground upon which you can learn to stand. If you have ever achieved a long-sought goal, only to feel a surprising emptiness in its wake, you have encountered this truth firsthand. That feeling is not ingratitude. It is intelligence. It is your deepest self informing you that you have been chasing a phantom. Lasting happiness cannot be assembled from external components. It is an internal state of being that arises from wholeness, and wholeness is not achieved by adding more positive experiences, but by courageously retrieving the parts of yourself you were forced to leave behind. Your vitality, your joy, your peace, they are not missing. They are currently locked in the basement of your psyche, guarded by the aspects of yourself you have been taught to fear. This is your shadow. The shadow is not a monster. It is your long-lost family. It contains your repressed anger, your unexpressed grief, your hidden fears, and your untamed creativity. You formed this shadow self in childhood, a necessary survival strategy to secure love and safety in your family system. You learned which feelings were welcome and which were met with disapproval. To be a good boy or a good girl, you had to hide, disown, and lock away the bad parts. But those parts never disappeared. They went underground, where they continue to influence your thoughts, behaviors, and life patterns from the shadows. They are the invisible authors of your self-sabotaging scripts. Engaging with this shadow is the most robust and meaningful work you will ever do. It is the path from a life of reaction to a life of intention. This book is your guide into that uncharted territory. It is a step-by-step process of making the unconscious conscious, of welcoming back your lost selves, and of integrating them into a powerful, cohesive whole. The journey will ask for your courage, but it will reward you with a freedom you may have never thought possible. The freedom to be authentically, unshakably yourself. This is not about fixing what is broken. It is about reclaiming what was always yours. Chapter 1. The Hidden Operating System, How Your Unconscious Mind Runs the Show. Beneath the surface of your conscious awareness, the part of you reading these words, exists a vast and powerful subterranean world. This is the realm of your unconscious mind, the hidden operating system that governs the majority of your decisions, reactions, and attractions. While you believe you are steering the ship of your life with logic and intention, the reality is that an autopilot, programmed in your earliest years, is most often at the helm. This autopilot is your shadow. It is the collection of every implicit memory, every buried emotion, and every core belief you formed before you had the capacity to choose your own programming. Consider how a ship captain sets a course. He inputs the coordinates, and the sophisticated navigation system takes over, making constant micro-adjustments to keep the vessel on track. Your conscious mind is the captain, but your unconscious mind is the navigation system. If the coordinates were input incorrectly decades ago, coordinates like, I am not enough, or the world is unsafe, or my needs are a burden, then no matter how hard you consciously try to sail toward happiness, success, or love, you will find yourself mysteriously off course. You will encounter the same storms, the same treacherous shores, again and again. This is not bad luck. This is the precision of a faulty program executing perfectly. This explains the perplexing gap between your conscious desires and your lived reality. You want a loving partnership, yet you find yourself perpetually attracted to emotionally unavailable people. You desire financial abundance, yet you unconsciously sabotage your own progress. You long for peace, yet your inner world is a theater of anxiety and self-criticism. You are not failing because you lack willpower. You are struggling because your conscious will is at war with a much older, more deeply embedded unconscious conviction. The shadow does not communicate in words, it communicates in patterns. These recurring patterns are its mother tongue, its way of showing you what remains unhealed within. The journey to unshakable happiness begins with this single, liberating realization. You are not broken. Your system is simply running on outdated software. The moment you stop blaming yourself for your failures and start curiously investigating the program, you reclaim your power. You shift from being a frustrated passenger to becoming the technician who can debug the code. This requires you to become a detective of your own life, to look at your recurring struggles not as personal failures, but as priceless clues. Each pattern of avoidance, each trigger of intense emotion, each person who evokes a strong reaction in you is a flashing arrow pointing directly toward a part of your shadow that is ready to be integrated. The autopilot is not your enemy. It is a misguided protector waiting for you to finally take the controls and input new, accurate coordinates. Chapter 2. The Mirror of Your Relationships. What your triggers reveal about you. The people in your life, especially the ones who irritate, disappoint, or enrage you, are your most potent teachers in the art of shadow work. They hold up a flawless mirror, reflecting back to you the very parts of yourself you have been unwilling to see. When a person evokes a strong negative reaction in you, a trigger has been activated. In that moment, you are not merely dealing with the other person's behavior. You are confronting an exiled aspect of your own psyche. That surge of emotion is a signal flare, illuminating a wound within you that is asking for attention, for acknowledgement, for love. A trigger is always an invitation. When you feel criticized by a partner and react with defensiveness or rage, the invitation is to explore your own hidden inner critic and the buried shame it protects. When you feel controlled by a boss or parent, the invitation is to examine where you have relinquished your own personal power and failed to set boundaries. The other person is simply playing a role in your personal drama, acting out a script that your unconscious mind recognizes all too well. They are showing you what you have disowned. If you did not have a repressed aspect of that very quality within you, their behavior would not land with such emotional force. It would be a mere observation, a neutral piece of data. This understanding transforms every conflict from a battlefield into a sanctuary for self-discovery. The next time you feel that hot jolt of irritation or the cold grip of hurt, pause. Instead of launching your well-rehearsed counterattack or retreating into silent resentment, turn your attention inward. Ask yourself with genuine curiosity, what is this reaction showing me about myself? What part of me feels unseen, unsafe, or unworthy right now? The answer will not be about the other person. It will be about a forgotten child within you who once felt this same way and made a vow to never feel it again. That vow, I will never be vulnerable. Or, I must be perfect to be loved, became a shadow belief. And it is that belief that is being challenged today. To engage with this process is to take radical responsibility for your emotional landscape. It is the decision to stop demanding that the world stop pressing your buttons and to instead begin the work of rewiring the control panel itself. As you learn to thank your triggers for the invaluable information they provide, your relationships undergo a profound shift. They cease to be sources of perpetual conflict and become catalysts for your growth. You can engage with others from a place of wholeness, not reactivity. You begin to see that the person across from you is also a fellow traveler, navigating their own shadowy terrain. And in that clarity, you find the compassion for yourself and for others That is the true hallmark of unshakable happiness. Chapter 3. The Body Keeps the Score. Listening to the wisdom of your Soma. Your body is not merely a vehicle for your brain. It is a living, breathing record of your entire life's journey. It is a precise and honest repository of everything your conscious mind has forgotten or chosen to suppress. While your psyche can weave stories of denial and positivity, your body never lies. The tension in your shoulders, the knot in your stomach, the constant ache in your lower back. These are not random ailments. They are the physical incarnations of your shadow, the somatic footprints of unmet emotions and unresolved trauma. To ignore the body in the pursuit of happiness is to try to read a book by only looking at the cover. The science of psychoneuroimmunology reveals a constant, intimate conversation between your mind, your nervous system, and your cellular function. A repressed memory of humiliation may not be accessible to your conscious mind, but your body remembers the event perfectly. It holds the biochemistry of that shame, manifesting it as a slumped posture or a reluctance to speak up. Unexpressed grief from a loss you were told to get over may settle deep in your lungs, contributing to breathlessness or a susceptibility to respiratory illness. Chronic anxiety is not just a thought pattern. It is a state of a nervous system stuck in a perpetual fight or flight response, its energy trapped with no outlet.
Your body is, in every sense, keeping the score. Becoming fluent in the language of your body is a non-negotiable step on the shadow work path. This begins with a simple, daily practice of mindful embodiment. Find a quiet moment to sit or lie down. Close your eyes and take a few slow, deep breaths. Then, without judgment, scan your body from the crown of your head to the tips of your toes. What do you feel?
A tightness in your jaw, a heaviness in your chest, a flutter of agitation in your belly. Do not analyze these sensations. Simply notice them, welcome them. Give them your non-judgmental attention. Imagine your breath flowing directly into that area, as if you were creating space around the sensation. This act of kind awareness is the first step in releasing the stored energy. As you practice this, you will begin to connect physical sensations to emotional states. That tightness in your throat may appear whenever you need to speak a difficult truth. The tension in your shoulders may intensify when you are carrying a burden you feel you cannot put down. When you feel these signals, you can ask your body a question. What are you trying to tell me? What emotion are you holding for me? The answers may come as words, images, or simply a knowing. By listening and responding by speaking the truth.
By setting down the burden, you honor the wisdom of your body. You are no longer at war with your physical self. You are collaborating with it, transforming it from a prison of pain into a sacred vessel for your healing and your ultimate embodied happiness.
Chapter 4. The Archaeology of the Self. Excavating your core wounds. At the very foundation of your shadow lie your core wounds. These are the primal, painful beliefs about yourself that you formed during your most vulnerable and impressionable years. They are not truths, but conclusions drawn by a child's mind in an attempt to make sense of painful experiences. Beliefs like, I am unlovable, I am a burden, I am not enough, or I am fundamentally flawed. These wounds become the invisible architects of your reality, the foundational cracks through which your vitality slowly drains. To build a life of unshakable happiness, you must become an archaeologist of your own soul, carefully and compassionately excavating these ancient ruins. Your core wounds were born in moments of perceived threat or loss of connection. Perhaps you felt unseen by a preoccupied parent and concluded, I am invisible. Maybe you were criticized for a natural mistake and decided, I am stupid. Or you experienced the chaos of a volatile household and internalized, I am not safe. To a child, these are not mere thoughts. They are survival strategies. If I am unlovable, then my parents' emotional distance is not a terrifying randomness, but something I can explain. If I am a burden, then I can learn to be quiet and small to avoid rejection. These wounds, though painful, gave the world a semblance of order and predictability. Now, as an adult, these same core wounds run your life from the shadows. The wound of, I am unlovable, manifests as a terror of intimacy. pushing people away before they can leave you. The wound of "I am not enough" drives a relentless pursuit of achievement. A desperate attempt to finally feel worthy through external validation. You may spend decades building a magnificent structure of a life, a career, a family, a reputation on top of this cracked foundation, wondering why you constantly feel a sense of impending collapse. No amount of external success can ever truly mend an internal fracture. The excavation process requires gentle courage. It begins by identifying your core wound. Look at the recurring painful themes in your life. What is the common, painful story you tell yourself about your worth? Once you have a hypothesis, you can trace it back. In a quiet state, bring to mind a recent situation where you felt deeply triggered or hurt. Feel the emotion. Then gently ask yourself, when was the very first time I felt this way? You may be surprised by a childhood memory that surfaces. Do not relive the memory with drama. Observe it with the compassionate curiosity of a wise elder. See the child you were, making a perfectly understandable decision in an impossible situation. Then, speak to that child. Offer them the truth that they could not see then. You are lovable. You are enough. You are not a burden. You are safe now. This is not affirmation. It is a corrective emotional experience. It is how you dissolve the ancient bedrock of the shadow and pour a new, solid foundation of self-worth upon which true happiness can permanently reside. Chapter 5. The Alchemy of Anger, Forging Power from Suppressed Rage. Anger is the most misunderstood and maligned emotion of the human spectrum. We are taught to fear it, to suppress it, to sanitize it away. We confuse the feeling of anger with the violent or destructive actions it can inspire. But in its pure form, anger is not violence. It is sacred data. It is a brilliant, fiery signal from your soul. A biological and psychological imperative that announces a boundary has been crossed, a value has been violated, a truth has been silenced. When you relinquish this powerful force to the shadow, it does not vanish. It curdles into resentment, hardens into bitterness, and turns inward as depression or self-loathing. Reclaiming your anger is not about becoming an angry person. It is about reclaiming your right to exist as a full, empowered human being. Think of anger as your internal guardian. Its job is to protect the sanctity of your being. When someone dismisses your ideas, your guardian rises up to say, "My thoughts matter." When you are overworked and taken for granted, your guardian declares, "My energy and time have value." When you witness an injustice, your guardian roars, "This is wrong." The feeling is a clean, sharp surge of energy, designed to mobilize you into protective action. The problem arises not from the anger itself, but from our conditioned response to it. We were taught that this guardian is dangerous, so we lock it in a dungeon. But an imprisoned guardian cannot protect you. It can only rattle its chains, creating a low-grade hum of irritation and passive aggression that poisons your world from the inside out. The alchemy of shadow work involves freeing this guardian and learning its language. The next time you feel the heat of anger rise in your chest, do not instinctively swallow it or let it explode. Pause. Place a hand on your body where you feel the sensation most strongly. Breathe into it. Acknowledge its presence without judgment. Simply say, "I feel anger." This simple act of naming it creates a critical space between you and the reaction. Within that space, you can then ask the most important question. What are you protecting? What value of mine feels threatened? The answer will be clear. My dignity, my fairness, my autonomy, my safety. Once you have the data, you can channel the pure energy of the anger into conscious, constructive action. This is the alchemy transforming raw, reactive fire into forged, intentional power. That power might be used to have a calm, firm conversation where you set a boundary. It might fuel the decision to leave a toxic situation. It might provide the courage to finally speak your truth or to defend someone else. This is anger in its mature, integrated form. It is no longer a wildfire that burns everything in its path. It is the blacksmith's fire that tempers steel. It is the energy of self-respect. And a person who possesses a healthy, respectful relationship with their own anger is a person who can navigate the world with confidence and grace, a person whose happiness is rooted in the unshakable knowledge of their own worth. Chapter 6. The Gateway of Grief, the Liberating Power of Heartbreak. In the quiet chambers of the heart, behind walls of busyness and bravado, lies the sacred territory of grief. We often confine this emotion to the experience of death, but its domain is far vaster. Grief is the natural and necessary response to any loss, any ending, any unmet longing. Most significantly, we carry a profound, often unacknowledged grief for the selves we had to abandon in order to belong, to be loved, to be safe. This is the grief for the spontaneous child who learned to be quiet, for the trusting soul who learned to be cynical, for the wild artist who learned to be practical. To avoid this grief is to build a dam across the river of your own soul. To allow it to flow is to discover the secret that heartbreak, fully felt, becomes the gateway to your deepest capacity for joy. We resist grief because we mistake it for a state of failure. We believe that to be happy is to be perpetually upbeat, and that sorrow is a sign that we are doing life wrong. This could not be further from the truth. Grief is not the opposite of happiness. It is the depth charge that clears the debris from your heart, making room for a more authentic and resilient joy to take root. Unexpressed grief is stagnant energy. It weighs you down, colors your world gray, and manifests as a pervasive numbness or a chronic depression. It is the silent partner in every addiction, every compulsion, a desperate attempt to feel something, anything, other than the immense pressure of the tears you will not allow yourself to cry. Giving yourself permission to grieve is an act of supreme self-compassion. It is the decision to stop telling yourself to get over it, and to instead fully honor the truth of your experience. This requires creating a sanctuary for your sadness. Find a time and a place where you will not be interrupted. You might hold an object that represents your loss, or listen to a piece of music that opens the channel. Then, simply invite the feeling. Do not force it. Do not tell yourself a story about it. Just feel the physical sensations in your body, the ache in the chest, the tightening in the throat, the hot press of tears. Let the waves of sensation come and go. If tears come, let them flow. Your tears are not a sign of weakness. They are a testament to your capacity to love, to care, to feel deeply. As you practice this conscious grieving, a miracle occurs. The grief, once a stagnant pool, begins to move. You will discover that on the other side of a wave of grief is not more pain, but a surprising and profound sense of peace. It is the peace of acceptance. It is the peace of having honored your own truth. Each time you allow yourself to move through grief, you reclaim a lost piece of your soul. You integrate a part of your history that was once too painful to hold. You become more whole, more real, more present. The weight lifts because you are no longer carrying it. You are processing it. And from this cleansed and open heart, a genuine, unshakable happiness can finally begin to grow. A happiness that is rich with the full spectrum of human experience, a happiness that has known loss and has therefore learned the incalculable value of love. Chapter 7. The Practice of Sacred Witnessing, How to Hold Space for Your Shadow. The culmination of all shadow work is not a dramatic exorcism of your demons, but the cultivation of a profound inner quality. The sacred witness. This is the part of you that can observe your thoughts, your feelings, and your bodily sensations without becoming entangled in them. It is the silent, spacious awareness that exists behind the constant chatter of the mind, in the storm of the emotions. The sacred witness does not judge, analyze, or try to fix. It simply sees, accepts, and holds space. When you learn to access this part of yourself, you break the spell of identification with your shadow. You are no longer an angry person. You are a person who is experiencing anger in this moment. This shift in perspective is the very essence of freedom. Most of us live our lives completely fused with our inner experiences. A critical thought arises, and we believe we are a critical person. A wave of fear washes over us, and we believe we are a fearful person. We are like a leaf tossed on the stormy sea of our own psyche, at the mercy of every wind and wave. The practice of say good witnessing is the process of discovering that you are not the leaf. You are the vast, still sky that contains the storm. You are not the content of your consciousness, the ever-changing thoughts and feelings, but the context, the conscious awareness itself. From this vantage point, the shadow loses its power to define you. Developing this witness is a gentle, moment-to-moment practice. It begins with mindfulness. Throughout your day, pause periodically. Take one conscious breath. In that breath, notice what you are thinking. Notice what you are feeling. Notice what is happening in your body. The key is to do this with a sense of gentle, neutral curiosity. You are a scientist observing the fascinating phenomena of your own inner world. When a difficult emotion like anxiety arises, instead of getting swept away by the stories it tells, simply note, anxiety is here. Feel its texture, its location, without trying to push it away or get rid of it. You are holding space for it, allowing it to be exactly as it is. This does not mean you become passive. In fact, from the clarity of the witness, your actions become more powerful and precise. When you are not hijacked by reactive emotion, you can choose your response. The witness sees the anger, understands its message, and then wisely decides how to channel its energy. The witness sees the grief, offers it compassion, and allows it to move through. This is how you befriend your shadow. You are no longer at war with these disowned parts. You are their compassionate container. You are the loving parent who can finally hold the frightened child. As this relationship deepens, the internal civil war ceases. The energy that was spent on suppression and conflict is returned to you, becoming fuel for your creativity, your passion, and your peace. You realize that happiness was never a state to be achieved, but this very capacity to be the sacred, spacious witness to all that you are. Chapter 8. The Tapestry of Self. Weaving your shadows into wholeness. The ultimate goal of shadow work is not to eliminate your so-called negative traits, but to integrate them. You are not aiming to become a one-dimensional being of pure light, but to become a whole, multifaceted human, capable of the full range of human experience. Your shadow parts, when brought into the light of conscious awareness, cease to be monsters. They reveal themselves as lost resources, hidden strengths, and vital aspects of your personal power. The journey ends not with a victory, but with a homecoming. You are piecing together the fragmented tapestry of yourself, weaving the dark threads back in, to create a portrait of stunning depth, resilience, and authenticity. Consider the qualities you have likely repressed. Your anger, when integrated, becomes the unwavering power to protect what you love. Your fear becomes a sharp and intuitive radar for genuine danger. Your sadness becomes a deep well of empathy and compassion for others. Your perceived selfishness transforms into a healthy sense of self-worth and the ability to set clear boundaries. These are not new skills you need to learn. They are your birthright, currently held captive in the shadow. Integration is the process of setting them free and inviting them to take their rightful place at your inner table. This weaving happens through conscious dialogue and invitation. When you feel an old, familiar pattern begin to stir, perhaps the urge to people-please at your own expense, you can pause and call upon your integrated power. You can inwardly say, I call upon my assertiveness. I call upon my self-respect. You will feel a shift in your body, a solidifying of your posture, a clarity in your mind. You are no longer at the mercy of a single, conditioned pattern. You have a full toolkit of responses available. You are the conductor of your inner orchestra, able to bring in the soft flute of vulnerability or the strong drum of boundary setting as the situation requires. A person who has done this work walks through the world differently. They are not easily shaken, because they are no longer afraid of their own interior. They have made peace with their humanity. Their happiness is unshakable not because they avoid pain, but because they know they have the resources to meet it. They can feel anger without being cruel, feel grief without collapsing, feel fear without being paralyzed. They are fluid, authentic, and powerfully present. This wholeness is your destination. It is the end of the search and the beginning of a truly authentic life. You look in the mirror and see not a collection of flaws to be fixed, but a complete and beautiful human being, finally home. Chapter 9. The Architecture of a New Life. Building your world from the inside out. After the excavation, the alchemy, and the weaving, a new phase dawns. You have done the profound work of meeting your shadow. You have reclaimed your lost energies and integrated them into a more complete sense of self. Now, a critical question emerges. What do you do with this newfound wholeness? The answer is, you build. You consciously begin to architect a life that is not a reaction to your old wounds, but a radiant expression of your authentic being. This is where your inner work manifests as outer reality. Your internal shift becomes the blueprint for a new existence, one constructed on the solid foundation of self-awareness, rather than the sinking sands of conditioning. For most of your life, your choices, your career, your relationships, your daily habits were likely made implicitly. They were dictated by the old operating system, designed to avoid the pain of your core wounds or to earn the validation you felt you lacked. You may have chosen a path to please your parents, a partner to soothe your loneliness, or a lifestyle to project an image of success. Now, from a place of integration, every choice can become explicit. You can ask yourself before any decision, large or small, am I choosing this from a place of fear and lack? Or from a place of freedom and abundance? Does this path align with my deepest values, or with an old script I no longer need to follow? This is an exercise of profound power. It is the application of your conscious will to the canvas of your life. Perhaps you realize your social circle is filled with people who resonate with your old, fragmented self. From your wholeness, you may naturally drift from those connections and find yourself magnetically attracting individuals who see and appreciate your authentic self. Maybe you see that your career, while prestigious, drains your soul because it was chosen for status, not for passion. From this clarity, you can begin to explore, even in small ways, how to integrate more of your true interests and gifts into your work, initiating a transition that may have once seemed impossible. Building this new life is a practice of trust. It requires you to believe in the truth of your inner navigation system more than the loud voices of external expectation. There will be moments of discomfort, times when the old programming screams that you are making a mistake, that you should return to the safety of the familiar. This is where you must lean on the unshakable happiness you have been cultivating. That inner peace is your compass. When a decision brings you closer to that peace, you are on the right path. When it creates internal turmoil, it is a sign of misalignment. You are no longer building a life to impress an audience. You are crafting a sanctuary for your soul. And in that sanctuary, your happiness is not an occasional visitor. It is a permanent resident. Chapter 10. The Unshakable Core. Living as a Light in the World. The journey of shadow work culminates not in a final destination, but in a fundamental rewiring of your being. You develop what can be called an unshakable core. This is not an arrogant rigidity, but a fluid, resilient stability. It is the deep, quiet knowledge that no matter what storms may rage in the external world, loss, failure, criticism, change, the essence of who you are remains intact, grounded, and clear. Your sense of worth is no longer tied to your achievements, your possessions, or the opinions of others. It is an intrinsic fact, as solid as the earth beneath your feet. From this core, you engage with life not as a victim of circumstance, but as a conscious co-creator of your experience. A person with an unshakable core understands that shadows will always exist. The setting sun will still cast long shapes on the ground. The difference is that you are no longer afraid of the dark. You know the terrain. You have a flashlight. When an old trigger arises, you no longer see it as a catastrophic failure, but as a familiar signal, a reminder to check in with a part of yourself that needs attention. A moment of jealousy becomes a quick lesson in acknowledging a desire. A flash of anger cleanly highlights a boundary that needs reinforcing. These experiences no longer derail you for days. They are integrated into the flow of your life, processed with compassion and wisdom, and released. This is the practice of maintenance, of living from your wholeness every single day. This transformation inevitably ripples outward, affecting everyone you touch. When you are no longer desperate for external validation, you stop seeking it in your relationships. You can love others freely, not because you need them to complete you, but because your own cup is full. You can listen without needing to fix, because you are comfortable with another person's pain. You can offer genuine compassion, because you have learned to offer it to every part of yourself. Your presence becomes a calm and steady light. You become a mirror for others, not of their judgments, but of their own potential for wholeness. Without saying a word, you give others permission to begin their own journey. 1. This is the ultimate gift of your shadow work. It is a gift you give to yourself, and in doing so, you give it to the world. You become a living testament to the possibility of a happiness that does not waver with the weather of external events. You demonstrate that peace is not found in a perfect life, but in a complete heart. The path ends where it began, with you. But the you who finishes is not the you who started. You are wiser, softer, stronger, and more real. You have answered the timeless question of how to be happy, not with a theory, but with the living proof of your own life. And now, your life itself becomes the message, a quiet, powerful echo of a single truth. Happiness was never something to be found. It is someone to become.